A lot of times we're talking about who should be fasting, but today we're talking about 7 types of people who should not be fasting. That's 7 types of people who should not be fasting. Number 1, pregnant or nursing women. You should not be fasting if you are pregnant or nursing because someone else is depending on you, and any sort of deficit or deficiency is going to end up hurting the one who depends on you, who is soon to come into this world or will soon be on their own in this world. Pregnant or nursing, no fasting. It's pretty plain, and if you dispute that at all, or if you think that's not true, just consult any authority on the subject and you will see that there's no dispute. There should be no dispute because it should be really almost common sense totally. Number 2, certain diabetics. Here's the truth for diabetics fasting. Some diabetics can and some diabetics can't. Most type 1 diabetics, it's completely out. You're not going to be able to fast because your liver does not work as it should, and you're not going to start producing glucagon to raise blood sugar levels. You're going to plummet. So as soon as you go to fast, you're going to burn through the sugar reserves that are in your body, and then you're not going to make any more. So you're going to end up fainting or going into or being so low in your blood sugar that you can go into a coma and eventually die. Why is this so important for certain diabetics? Because again, if your liver doesn't work, you're not going to make glucagon. Glucagon does the opposite of insulin. It raises blood sugar. That's why some people who fast have higher sugar readings in the mornings, because they have an overactive liver in certain respects. Got a swarm of flies in this house thanks to a darn dog. Certain diabetics. This is, now who can, if you are a high sugar, the first thing you need to determine is, are you a high sugar diabetic or a low sugar diabetic? Do you get low blood sugar or do you get high? Now some type 2 diabetics also get low blood sugar, but usually they adapt. Most type 2 diabetics can fast. Only the very severe ones cannot. And again, most type 1 diabetics cannot fast. So if that's you, you need to know your body and you need to determine, am I a high sugar diabetic or a low sugar diabetic? Do you get high sugar almost all the time, or do you get high sugar and low sugar? And especially if you're taking any medication, most hypoglycemia in diabetics comes from the fact that they're taking medication to control it, and they're sometimes going down too low. You don't want that. One word of caution: if you are diabetic and you do attempt fasting, and you say, I'm a high sugar diabetic, I can get away with it, you have to be careful, because if you ever are hypoglycemic too often, and you start to ignore the symptoms and push past it, then you're going to build a resistance to them, and then that's when you're likely to faint and end up in a position where you might be operating a car or heavy machinery or something, and you pass out. So fasting is not for certain types of diabetics. You need to look at yourself and determine if that's the case. This is important because this is one of those examples where everybody is not the same. Some diabetics can have rice, some diabetics can have potatoes, some cannot. It depends on how you process the enzymes in those foods. Or, as with fasting, no foods. Number 3, those with diagnosed nutrient deficiencies, particularly anemia. This is important because if you have a diagnosed nutrient deficiency, if you're going to go into prolonged fasting, then you need to fix the deficiency first. And that's why fasting works so well for those like myself who started out very overweight and very, very, very full of food. I was eating everything. I had no deficiencies. I had normal blood glucose readings, despite the fact that I was a human garbage disposal. There were no diagnosed deficiencies, especially something like anemia. You do not want to be fasting because you're going to cause yourself all sorts of problems. So if you have a diagnosed deficiency, make sure it's diagnosed, because a lot of people just feel like something's not right with their body. It's common sense anyway that if you're going to begin any major change in your diet, you should go and get a blood panel drawn. You can go and have it done by your doctor, or you can do something like any lab test now, where you get a blood screening for a certain amount of money, and then you just get a consult with the doctor to go over it with you, make sure there's nothing major. Number 4, those not willing to forgo pure junk food. What's the problem with eating junk food and fasting? Now, again, you don't have to start OMAD eating healthy. I did not. I certainly did not. But if you're going to just eat pure junk food like Cheetos and Kit Kat bars and drink sweet sodas, then all you're doing is spiking your blood sugar, and you are depriving yourself of nutrients because you're not going to be putting back in nutrients that you're getting, or not enough anyway, to have any sort of satiety. And you're going to see very quickly how it's going to ruin your efforts if you go in without even using the common sense of having a normal meal at your daily meal instead of something that is just complete junk food. I think it's a pretty easy rule to follow. No complete junk food. Other than that, the world is yours. Number 5, those bent on super high physical performance. Fasting is a weight loss tool. It is a life-enhancing tool. It is, in some small cases, a muscle recovery tool. But it may not be for you if you are a person who is bent on super physical activity. A lot of us are active. I'm active, but I'm not super active. And the problem with people is that they're often not reasonable on the type of activity they engage in. You have to eat for how your lifestyle is. So if you are super active or remotely active, you've got to eat to account for that remotely. So, in other words, you have to adjust. You can be at a good deficit, and still be active, but not too much so, because you're going to force your body into a state of stress. So there's no harm in considering OMAD not right for you if your physical activity demands require more frequent eating. Number 6, hypotension or tachycardia. If you have a situation where your blood pressure is too low, or you have any sort of major heart arrhythmia problem or other heart problem like tachycardia, then you need to rethink fasting, because it can be very hard. Now, some people have complained to me about fasting with a rapid heartbeat. That's not the same thing. You can supplement with potassium, magnesium, and calcium taken together, and you can beat and zinc. And you take those 4 supplements, and you can beat or set right any problems with a racing heart when you're fasting. That's for a normal person. But if you have heart troubles, you need to at least reconsider fasting, because it may not be perfect for you. Number 7, you are anorexic or you are chronically underweight. And I do get people that email me who are chronically underweight, and they say, I want to fast for the headspace. Should I do that? The answer is no, unless you're willing to fast maybe a day or 2 a week, and then you are getting enough calories to make up for it the rest of the week. This gets serious, because body image issues are a huge, huge problem. And I don't mean with people who are just anorexic or underweight. I mean with people who are overweight, who can't normalize because they're always chasing an image of what they think they should look like. It's dangerous. And you need to start listening to the comments of others if you are a person who struggles with either of those conditions, if you're chronically underweight or you're anorexic, because you're asking for trouble if you decide to go about fasting and you already have a super low body fat percentage. You're going to start cannibalizing your internal organs, and you're going to start hurting your body. Again, fasting is a tool. It is not something that should consume every aspect of your life. It is a tool to make you better. So those 7 things are precautions to take. Thanks for watching.